Thank you all of you for being here today. And thank you, Nova, for giving me an opportunity to talk over something that I find very passionate. And I think it's quite a relatable topic nowadays. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. And I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So today we're going to be talking about the hustle culture, right? I'm sure most of you are familiar with this terminology, and I think you've been hearing about it a lot on social media, at your workplace, as well as with your colleagues and so on, right? I'm going to be firstly releasing a short poll to start with in order to just get us into the zone of this topic. So can you please share the poll questions? The questions, and if you can't see the entire statement, please elongate your screen, like just stretch it out to the side. So tick on a statement that resonates with you the most, or you can tick on a bunch of statements if they all resonate with you. People around you have asked you to cut down on your work. In recent months, you've become irritable or tense most of the time. You feel guilty that you're not spending enough time with your friends, family, or even yourself. You have been feeling overwhelmed. You don't feel like yourself. Thinking about work and the entire day makes you feel unaccomplished. Just gonna wait for about, I think 30 seconds is good for everybody to vote. Okay, we have responses coming in. Thank you guys for responding. It's really good. Not good in terms of the options that you're clicking, but good in terms of the responses. We have 28, 31. We have 68 participants. Can we please have more responses? I'm sure there must be a statement that might resonate with all of you. If not, you can put on the chat box that, Shivani, none of them were resonating with me. I would love to hear that as well. Okay. From what I'm seeing currently, I think most of the responses have come in for, the most votes have come in for the last option, which is thinking about work and the entire day makes you feel unaccomplished. Apologies for the typo, but it's supposed to be makes you feel unaccomplished. The second most is in recent months, you have become irritable or tensed most of the time. Equal with you feel guilty that you're not spending enough time with your friends, family, or even yourself. I think we can stop the poll. I think we can stop it. I think I like how Payal has pointed out. Thank you, Payal, where she just said none. Okay, so most of the votes have come for the last bit, which is thinking about work and the entire day makes you feel unaccomplished, right? Now, these poll questions were actually asked to all of you. One second, let me just take a share results. Can I just do that? Can everybody see the results?
Yep.
Okay, Ria, you can also see it, right? Okay, awesome. Right, so all these questions that, these statements that I put out there, they're all actually indicators that we've all been sort of going deep into something called as the hustle culture. Right? These are actually effects, if you think about it. These are effects because if you've been putting in too many hours and maybe people around you have asked you to cut down on your work. This could be your, your friend, your colleague, or your family members. Why are you doing so much work? Cut down on your hours. Maybe you're feeling overly stressed, right? What is concerning here mostly is because the highest votes went for thinking about your work and the entire day makes you feel unaccomplished, right? That's really important because regardless of the work that you're doing, the number of hours that you're putting in, technically, you should be feeling like, I've done a lot, right? Or I've achieved something, or I feel accomplished, or I feel satisfied that at least I could get, 5 things out of my 10 things done. But most of us here right now feel unaccomplished, thinking about our entire work, entire day, and just generally the amount of work that we're doing, right? And that is exactly what we are here to talk about. Thank you all again for voting. It's good responses. I want to talk about hustle culture, right? I want to talk about the fact that hustle culture is a terminology, hustle, firstly, is a terminology that has been glorified. I don't know how many of you agree with me here. I would love to hear responses on the chat box, right? But it's almost become like a badge of honor, right? I'm hustling every single day. I'm putting in this much work. I'm getting this much done. I'm putting in these many hours, right? It's almost become like, oh, because I'm hustling, this is like my badge of honor, right? Recently, I was talking to one of my colleagues and she was talking to a CEO of a company. And she mentioned that he was talking to her and he said, if you put in about 15 to 16 hours of work every day, in 5 to 6 years, you will become a CEO. And she brought this up to me, right? And we were just talking about it. And we thought, 15 to 16 hours a day. And in 5 to 6 years, you're going to become a CEO. But at what cost? What cost, right? What about the effects of this routine, this hustle on your mind, your body, your overall peace? And then we started to talk about it a little more and we realized that, maybe this is because most of us don't have so much clarity on our own successes. We only know that there are certain people around the world that are more successful than us, that we are more successful than, right? And these are our reference points. So the people who put in the most work and are successful become like the ideal badge of honor. And therefore we try to strive and reach that constantly. This image right here is such a powerful image because maybe it's not 5 a.m. for most of you. Maybe for most of you it is. I'm not too sure. Maybe it's 7 o'clock, 8, but whatever it is, as you can see, the person is just working, and then just sleep, right? There's nothing beyond. However, this is the hustle and this is the badge of honor, right? So I'm here to actually just sort of unhustle and help all of us, including myself, right? Rethink this entire concept of hustle culture and where is it actually coming from? How many of us have read this quote? These 3 things that come, maybe they're on social media, maybe somebody sends it to you on a WhatsApp forward, but hard work is the key to success. Putting in more hours is the key to success. How many of us have been raised with this exact second statement, right? No pain, no gain. No pain, no gain, guys. That's the hustle. Another one that I'm seeing very commonly used on social media nowadays is you can have fun when you're successful, right? So spending time with family, taking time out for yourself, self-care, social self-care, physical self-care, all this fun you can have when you're successful. But right now, put in the work because we have to hustle. That's the hustle culture. That is what it's become, is what I'm trying to say here. All these quotes, when used as a motivation, they're okay. But when they're used as a culture, there's a huge effect. And I'm not saying effect in the organizations in an individual, but a whole global effect, right? It's become like a huge thing out there that this is what hustle culture means. This is what life is like now. There is nothing else beyond it. I want to play a video for all of you. I hope you can hear it.
6 a.m. Sunlight alarm goes on. I'm already up. High intensity interval training on the treadmill. Catching up on my podcast. 7 a.m. Shower, AeroPress, email. But not before I read my blogs and journal about creativity. 8:30, I'm out the door. Pop into Ground Central. They brew Stumptown. Order the pour over, wink at the barista. She doesn't notice. Metro. The queue's running late, so I hop on the 7-9 and do a back around at the transfer stop on 96th and Fullerton. Shave 3 minutes off the commute. I'm walking into the office when I get a notif. Insta. My favorite celeb just went live. Do I risk being late, or do I give up a chance to finally be noticed? Not a prob. Load the vid, post the perfect chat message. Right on time. Hey, boss. 10 a.m. Office coffee, protein bar, Dock the MacBook, dongle, YubiKey, I'm on. Time for stand-up. Back to the desk. Trick is, I'm always standing. Gotta install the latest security patches to stay compliant with corporate policy? On it. Check the Robinhood while I'm waiting. All red. Just what I thought. 11:30. News blast. Trump. I'm already on Twitter with a hot take. Then it's lunchtime. Vegan bolognese. Sit alone. No time for idle chatter. A moleskin and running positive affirmations is all I need. Next thing I know, it's 8:30 p.m. Time to call it a day. Back on the 7th, this time going uptown. Happy hour, alone. $11 gin and tonic. Another one. Feeling good. Don't talk to anyone. Check the Insta. 100 likes. Not bad, but I'll have better. City lights have my circadian rhythm screwed up. Gotta head home before it gets too bad. Back in bed. One chapter of Marcus Aurelius' Meditations on the Nook. Didn't understand shit. Tweet a quote just as the battery dies for the day. Perfect. Time for phase 1 of my polyphasic sleep cycle. Tomorrow's day 1 of my intermittent fasting routine. All in a day's work.
Right. What? Right. I don't know. I hope this is relatable to all of you, but what I want to ask all of you here is that when you watched this video, what did it do to your heart rate? I'm sure it increased it. If you were like really engrossing in the video in the past, for the past 2 minutes, my heart rate increases every time I've watched this video. So there's an effect that this person's routine also has on ourselves, just because it's in the video as well, right? Is moving so fast. Everything is happening so fast for him. And if you've noticed, I would love to hear some observations on the chat as well, right? What did you observe about certain things that was going on in his life? I think one of them was he keeps saying alone, right? He says gin and tonic, alone. No time for idle chat, alone. He's also got, okay, that's a good take, Tapan, thank you. He's also got his, priority, like on his to-do list, he has affirmations. He hasn't really sat and dwelled on it. He's just like, okay, I've done my affirmation, done, tick, finish, right? There's also a part where he says, oh my God, my circadian rhythm is gonna get messed up, time to get some sleep, right? He's not sleeping well. He skipped a meal, if you noticed. Also, if you notice, he keeps saying alone, right? So that's like a human machine. Thank you, Karthik, right? Of course, we don't know. We haven't spoken to this person, Tapan, to really know if he's happy or not. But what we can observe from his life is that his routine, it is the hustle culture.
6 a.m.
It is the hustle culture, right? And what I'm trying to bring up over and over again in this part of the webinar is that there is a huge part of this fear of missing out. Okay, Tapan is happy alone. I know him. All right. Thank you. There's this huge part of people having this fear of missing out, right? I don't know if you guys have heard, but this terminology is hugely used, FOMO. So anything that other people around the world are doing, or any kind of lifestyle that people are living, we also want to do that. We also want to get into that trend. And this fear of missing out sometimes gets to a point we start thinking and we start going like, oh, I should really try that because other people are doing it. Let me try the hustle. Maybe it's not even the right fit for you. Maybe it's not, it's got ill effects. It's got so many different aspects to it, and it's got such a rigorous lifestyle. And yet we're all thinking, okay, because other people are doing it, it's part of the trend, it's part of the culture. I'm fear, I don't want to miss out on this. I got to do this. I got to hustle, right? There's this huge part of fear of missing out when it comes to the hustle culture, right? Right. So what I also want to point out is, if you're one of those people here right now, and you're living by the hustle life, or the whole rise and grind concept, or hashtag sleep is for losers, I've seen this so commonly all around, and people using it, before as joke, as a hashtag, but now it's just become like, oh, I'm working, sleep is for losers. It's become like that, right? And if you think that this sort of life is something that you're really into it and you love it and you see a lot of passion for, I want you to just open your mind a little bit today and take a back button and take a step back, right? Why? Because the hustle culture that we're actually trying to build is not actually being built at this moment in the entire world. It's becoming something else, right? It's becoming more about, if you do more work, that means you're more productive, right? If you put in more hours, that means you're going to accomplish more. But it's important to remember that we all here have 24 hours. It's not like somebody has 48 and somebody has 24, right? We all here have 24 hours. However, how we reach those accomplishments and how we get more productive has all to do with the effectiveness of our work and less about the amount of hours that we actually put in. So here's a little game that I want to play with all of you. And again, you can respond in the chat box, okay? So myths and facts about whether you or whether a person is a hustler, the real one, or a hustler, which is the one that I'm talking about today as well, right? The hustler or the real hustler, okay? So the first one I want to ask all of you is the real hustler, the real hustlers do not have a dream. Is this a myth or a fact? You can simply write an M or F on the chat box. Okay, I'm seeing M's. Okay, majority of M's. I'm not seeing one fact. Correct, this is a myth, right? Real hustlers have a dream. They have a vision and they have a goal that they want to succeed in. Next one, real hustlers love their craft and are committed to improving themselves and the world. Correct, it's a fact, right? I'm seeing a lot of F's come in, thank you. It's a fact, right? Real hustlers actually have this passion for their craft, for what they're doing. And they're so committed to not just improve themselves, but also improve and have an impact in the entire world, right? It's very important. Real hustlers do not accept rejection. Is this a myth or a fact? Oh, I'm seeing a little bit of mixed responses. Okay, majority. Okay, I'm still seeing mixed responses. The answer is it's a myth. Real hustlers accept rejection, and you know what they do? They accept the rejection, they try their best to overcome it, learn from it, and then they go back. That's the real hustler, right? Real hustlers are willing to stumble to rise back up. I feel like I just gave this one away. Yeah, it's a fact. This one's a fact, guys. Okay, I feel like I just gave this one away. But yes, real hustlers are willing to stumble, willing to falter, willing to fail, willing to dwell in the failure, willing to learn from their failure and then rise back up. Right? A real hustler, this one I want to really ask all of you, a real hustler is willing to reach out to someone when it should be they need help. Fact. Yes, it's a fact. Great, right? So a real hustler actually reaches out, learns that, maybe this is out of their bandwidth, this is out of their boundary, this is out of their energy level. And then it's like, either I delegate, reach out, ask for help, ask for support. Because at the end of the day, if I really want to hustle and I want to get something done, I will need other people to help me, right? And therefore, I will not shy away from that. That's a real hustler. A real hustler is willing to say no to a project when it's not aligned with their vision. Okay, I'm seeing slightly mixed responses. Okay. A real hustler actually is willing to say no when it doesn't align with something that is their bigger vision. This is a myth. Sorry, this is a fact. I'm sorry. This is a fact. So a real hustler actually is willing to say no to something that doesn't align with their vision. Now, lastly, real hustlers value hard work over smart work. Okay. Again, mixed responses, mostly M's, I think. Okay, F. All right. Real hustlers value smart work over hard work. right? It's about it's about focusing more on quality than the quantity of the work. So it's not so much about, again, putting in of course, it takes hard work to be effective, yeah. But hard work also means like, you're putting in more work. That is how the hustle culture has defined things to be. But if you realize the actual definition of a real hustler is somebody who has a dream, a vision, clarity on their success, somebody who's able to fail, accept failures, somebody, most importantly, is able to reach out to people and does not think that they are superhuman and they have to be perfect at all times. They need help to get ahead in life. And finally, being more effective in those 24 hours rather than saying, okay, I'm going to extend my hours to like 6 or 16 or 20, and I'm going to, stay here and keep working. That's a real hustler. Now, to quickly do this, there's another poll that's coming up. I would like you to identify this in yourself. Are you a hustler or are you a hustler? Right? No pressure, guys. No pressure. So the statements are, do you feel obligated to say yes on doing more? Do you feel like you need to commit to all the tasks? Do you feel hesitant to use sick or personal days or even take the full hour for lunch? Do you find yourself answering calls, emails, and Slacks even after work hours or weekends? Do you turn down your feelings and turn up your hustle? By that, I mean, do you actually just like push aside the fact that you may be tired or you may not be feeling up to it, but then you're like, okay, I got to go for this. I must push myself. I must hustle. Okay. Thank you all for voting, first of all. I think the results are quite interesting. I'm here to say that we do have hustlers in the crowd, the hustlers in the crowd. So we've got the most votes as of now for, do you feel like you need to commit to all the tasks? So that has been the most votes. Second most is you find yourself answering emails and Slacks even after work hours or weekends. Yeah. So these two have received highest votes. And do you turn down your feelings and turn up your hustle also has quite a few votes. Okay, I think we can end the poll. Should I just end it? Due to time constraints, yeah. Okay, I'm sharing the results. I hope you guys are able to see it. Just let me know, Ria, if you can see it as well. Okay. Okay, awesome. All right, so just gonna put this away. Right, so I wanted you to identify this in yourself because, and it's not actually surprising that most of us, find ourselves answering calls or emails or replying to, posts on Slack, even after work hours or weekends, because it's just there, right? Like you feel like the need to be alive and online all the time. There's also this whole aspect of turning down our feelings and turning up the hustle, because we have this back of the mind, we always have thoughts and feelings that go like, okay, gotta keep going, I gotta keep hustling, I must do this, this is what I have to do, this is how I reach, this is how I become successful, right? So where does it really come from, right? I think I have mentioned this some time ago, that there is this part where most of us actually lack the definition of personal success. Why? Because we don't sit and think about what we think or what our idea of success. What we know is the idea of other people's successes, right? The people that we read about, the people that are successful globally. We see what kind of work they're putting in. We think, okay, if we want to be successful, we've got to do that, got to reach there, right? So there is a slight lack of definition of personal success. Second thing is that the day that you're not hustling, or the day that you just have to be still, you have to, you have nothing to do. or maybe you can't find anything to do, maybe it's your off day or whatever, you feel guilty. You feel slightly guilty because you feel like there's something missing now. Like, oh, why am I not moving? Why am I not on the move? Wow, I could be doing a course right now. Why am I not doing that course? There's a free course going on, right? There's that guilt. Why am I not doing enough? Guilt, right? There's also guilt for people who don't hustle, from people who do hustle, right? Oh, why are you not doing this, man? This is so cool. Like, you gotta hustle, you gotta do this, be more resilient. And that's another word terminology we use. Guilt makes us keep going for it, right? That creates the habit of hustling. We've been so dependent for so long in hustle lifestyle that now it's become almost like a habit. It's so difficult to sit back and sit still and just say, okay, let me take 2 steps back. Let me have a thinking hour, or let me, take some time off and plan what it is that I actually need to do and find a direction, right? Why am I doing what I'm doing? I'm just doing it. But how many times do we actually sit and go back and think, okay, this is the direction that I'm going for. This is what is, helping my success. And therefore, this is what I need to go for. Why am I doing it, right? There's also this inner monologue that I recently spoke about. The back of your mind, there's a constant dialogue that's going on, just constantly telling you those quotes that you can, one second, sorry. Okay. So there's a constant inner monologue that's going on in the back of your mind, right? Where you sort of understand, you sort of have a conversation with yourself about what it is that you're doing, how much you're accomplishing, how productive you are, and so on. And most of the time, the one that, that says, keep going, keep pushing yourself, that's the one that wins. The last one, most important one, is planning fallacy and unrealistic deadlines. Most of us are not even sure of how much time we spend on each task because we expect everything to go smoothly. We forget that there could be loopholes and things that can actually go wrong while we're completing a certain project. And most of the time, we underestimate the time that it would take. And when it takes longer, then we're disappointed, right? Oh, I couldn't do this on time. I had a deadline. I set this as my deadline. This is my target. I could not reach it. I couldn't do enough. I couldn't accomplish this. Right? There's a whole planning fallacy. So this is where it comes from. But what does it do? What is the effect of the hustle? I want to share a very nice case of Arianna Huffington. I hope you guys have heard about her. She's the founder of the Huffington Post. About like a decade ago, she used to be a person who would constantly hustle, right? She had a very hustling sort of lifestyle. And in 2007, she found herself lying in a pool of blood. Okay. And what happened actually was that she had fainted and she hit her eye in the corner of her table and she cut her eye open and then she fell. She went to the hospital and she did a bunch of tests. Nothing clinical was found. It was just found that she was burnt out. And I wouldn't say it so casually. It was not that it was just found that she was burnt out. She was burnt out. She fainted, right? And this is what happened. After that, she has become one of the most powerful spokesperson to speak against the hustle culture. If you have read things that she writes, they're very inspirational, they're very interesting. But this is an effect, right, of the hustle lifestyle. This can't stop, won't stop attitude actually affects your mind and your body. Right? I need to work, I need to abide by my deadlines, I have a commitment, I have a target, I have a number to reach. It really affects the mind and the body. I must work out. I must also spend time with people. There's so much going on in this hustle, sort of being perfect, having done everything, right, in your 24 hours. This affects the mind and the body. Right? How do we go about it? What are certain individual strategies? Now that we've realized that, maybe some of us are victims to this hustle culture, how do we go about it, right? First thing is understanding that we all have energy levels throughout the day, right? We all have a time of a flow, right? We all have a flow time, a time in the day that you have the highest energy level. And this could be differing for each person, right? For example, it could be morning for people. It could also be, afternoon for people. It could be late in the evening for people, right? Find your flow. When is your energy level the highest, right? That is the time that you should actually be hustling, right? We're all sitting here and we're expecting that we're going to be hustling for all those 8 hours, but essentially you're actually going to be hustling only for those 2 hours or maybe 1 or 3 hours, depending on your energy level. That's the time that you're going to actually be hustling. That's the time that you're going to be the most productive, right? So firstly, understand your energy levels and find your flow. Secondly, don't expect yourself to be at that energy level the entire day. The entire day, it is impossible for you to do that, right? You're just going to tire yourself out. Like I said, after 5 days or 7 days in the week, you're going to tire yourself out, right? Secondly, this is something that I know everybody has already heard of, but I have to say it here, that we have reached a point in our modern life that we now not just need to schedule appointments and meetings with our fellow colleagues and members, but we also need to schedule our hobbies and interest time and rest periods. And by schedule, I mean literally put it on your calendar, which most of us do not do. You got a lunch hour or you got a me time hour, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, you schedule that for yourself, right? Firstly, you will not forget it. Secondly, it's a great way to communicate to other people that this is your time, right? Third, very important, I want you all to think about, you may have 100 tasks that you have, okay? Let's say 10 tasks that you have, right? Out of 10, which of the tasks that are actually making the biggest impact in your life, that is your spark, right? When you reflect that, when you have your thinking time and when you go back and think and reflect, okay, I have 10 things, but you know what? Out of this, actually 5 are actually impacting my life. And by life, I don't mean like your career aspirations. I mean, overall, generally for your well-being, for your motivation, for your productivity, overall, right? Which of these things are actually the biggest impact in your life? Okay. Try and think that way, right? Get clear on your boundaries. How? Firstly, understand your boundaries, your energy, and this goes back to your energy level. You don't have the energy level, you don't have the flow. Maybe it's time to take on tasks that require less focus, less alertness, and less thinking time for you, right? And secondly, you have to communicate to people around you that, okay, you know what? I will not be able to do that today. Tomorrow during my flow time, I can, give it a shot. Right. I will get to questions in a bit, but thank you for asking. I'll just get to it. Okay, let me just go through this and then definitely I will get to the questions in a bit. So what I really want you all to do right now, you don't have to do this right here or respond to it right here, but I want you all to ask yourself in order as an individual strategy to turn down the hustle. What does success look like for you in your career, family life, and other areas of life, right? The reason why I keep coming to success is because most of us think that because we're hustling, we're going to be successful one day, just like all the other people in the world that are also working like this, right? But each person's success is different. So what does success look like for you? Secondly, currently, based on your ideal lifestyle right now, your routine, the kind of work that you're doing, what is truly aligned for you in terms of when you found your success and your ideal lifestyle right now? Is there a match or is there a mismatch? Or is there a slight match and there's a mismatch somewhere, right? That's possible too. Think about this. Ask yourself this. Right? There's obviously things that are also out of your control, right? There's individual hustling, but because hustle is a culture that's there, it also involves the organization that you're working in. And of course, to each organization their own, but there's also, certain indicators that an organization is sort of encouraging this hustle culture, right? For example, maybe there are things just being added to your plate and really nothing is ever being subtracted. You just find yourself overloaded with work. Another is people laugh at lunch breaks, right? Or me time breaks. it's a sad thing. Laughing is, it's just like, oh, it doesn't happen, haha, right? But it's actually a sad thing, right? We shouldn't be laughing at lunch breaks. Lunch breaks are required. Maybe there's always a discussion about things that are going to happen, and there's no time for like, oh, let's strategize, let's go back, let's take in half an hour and let's actually have a thinking time for people to reflect, maybe journal, to talk about, take a step back and think about the vision, the overall vision of why is it that we're doing what we're doing, instead of just doing it, right? So if there is no that discussion, either in your one-to-ones or the ones you're having with your team members, or all of those meetings and internal discussions, if this is not happening and what has been achieved is also not being looked at, then it's an indicator that we are one of the indicators that it's encouraging a hustle culture. No one asks you about your boundaries. That's a major one, right? No one really asks you about your bandwidth. How much can you take? What is your energy level like? How are you feeling today? No one does that. Simply work is given and they're like, okay, reach that target, reach that number, right? There's no time for boundary. One of the major ones, major indicators is that vacation days are there. Okay, they're there, but people are not spending it because they just have so much work. And also people are worried that if they take a vacation, they come back, there'll be more work piling up and pending because they took a vacation, right? So these are certain indicators from the organization perspective. I wasn't really going to focus on organization tips because to each organization their own, but this was just so interesting. I had to share it with all of you. Which is, Mark Douglas, the CEO of Steelhouse. Basically, he has something called as a simple vacation policy, and he doesn't have a limit for his employees to take vacations. He's like, okay, take as many as you want. Another interesting idea, I had were like HubSpot, Google, and NASA. Okay, yes, that NASA. They have nap times, right? And nap times have shown to be power naps, have shown to be quite productive when it comes to your, getting your focus back and rebooting and recharging throughout the day. So I just thought this was a really interesting thing. Again, to each organization their own. But because hustle culture is a culture, it's not just the individual internally that is involved in this culture. It's also the organization that they're working with. And it's also globally what you read on social media, right? What kind of quotes you constantly read on social media and what kind of things you actually, influenced by, that also has a huge effect. Right. So what I really want all of you here to take away from today is, of course, the strategies. But step one to understanding hustle culture is, are we really, the current hustle culture we have, is it really hustle culture or is it really burnout culture? Right. This glorified terminology that we use as hustle, it's not living up to the mark of what we're actually trying to do here. We're not thinking so much about the why, we're just doing. And when we reach to the brim of it, that's when we realize, oh, I should have taken a step back. I should have taken a break. I should have thought it through. I just went with it. Right. And that's where I'm going to leave all of you here. And now I'm open to any questions that you may have. Right.
Shivani, for this great session. Thank you everyone for staying up here. Before we move on to the question, we have a poll for everyone. So would you like to recommend the session to your friends and family? Drop a number where 10 is being the highest and 1 being the lowest. And please drop in the questions. We are ready to take in the questions. You will answer those, like anything related to hustle. Questions. keep the questions coming in, and keep the polls coming in.
Right.
Yeah, I'll ask a question.
Okay.
Yeah. So you had mentioned about the burnout culture as well, right? How is that different from the hustle culture?
How is burnout
Correct.
culture different from the hustle culture? Right. You mean like
Yeah.
the hustle culture, right? The real hustle culture. Right. So the real hustle culture actually expects a person or an individual to, like I said, reach out for help. Don't think that you're a superhero. Also take a step back, right? We don't have these thinking hours. We don't. How many of us actually sit down every single day and have a thinking hour where we take a step back, strategize, and then maybe rarely, right? Where we take a step back, strategize, and then we go about our day. Another thing is burnout culture doesn't think about your energy level. It's just do it. Just do it till you burn, right? So when it comes to the sort of hustle culture that we want to build, we need to be able to take into account our energy levels, our mind, our body, effects of it. Whereas the burnout culture, also the other hustle culture, doesn't do that. The one that we're going for, which is putting in the hours, do it, keep going, don't stop. That's the burnout culture. I hope that helps. Makes sense.
Yes. Like how to overcome? How do you suggest to that burnout?
How do you overcome the burnout culture? Right? We have to work individually as well as organizationally. So it's also about the kind of organization that you are in. Definitely, it has to be able. You have to be able to have the freedom of the psychological safety involved here. Sorry, there is a poll. I'm sorry, I got distracted. There's an element of psychological safety here, right? Also, are you able to communicate to your team lead or your team members that this is how you're feeling and the fact that you can't take any more? Or are you waiting for the team member? And are you checking in with your team member to constantly ask that, right? Can you do it? Can you do it? Are you able to? What's going on, right? Because when it comes to work, it's not just work that's affecting us. It's also our personal life that's affecting us. At the back of our mind, we all have personal lives that are affecting us, right? So overcome. First step is, I know, easily said, communication, but we need to have in an organizational and individual workplace perspective, you have to have a more effective one-on-one session with your team members. And one-on-ones should not be about updates and work. They should simply be about the individual's challenges, how much they can take, how has their mood and the energy level been in the past 1 week. What can we do to sort of realign them and get them back to that motivation level? What is something that's draining their energy? What is something that's gaining their energy? Right? So have more effective one-on-ones with your team members. That would be something that you can do. Individually, of course, I've already mentioned about, energy levels and so on.
Yeah, so we have shared an HR poll. So would you like to thank your HR for this session? If you have a question, you can say yes or no. We'll be sharing that with your HR. And also we have more sessions coming up. So you have
Sure.
a session that you would like to join for everyone. Also, we have a question here. So is an unlimited leave a scam? I mean, we're not able to take leaves considering a lot of. So how do you tackle?
So Devansh, I think this is a very funny point because it's not a scam. I would say, I think it's more like, trust your team members. This is something that I learned in one of these leadership workshops where I interviewed about 8 to 10 leaders, and they all had this policy. And this is the exact question I had. I said, okay, isn't this a scam? Like, people are just going to take you for granted. But that's where the aspect of trusting your team members comes in, right? Team members and the trust that you have for them and they have for you. So that is built into, again, the culture of the organization. But taking leave is considering a lot of work. Another way is having backups for work, right? Having people you can hand over things to, which also have the same skill set, who can then, when you come back from the leave, then you're not so scared that you're going to be piling in with more work. Okay, great.
So Shruti is asking, so she would like to listen more of practical ways to get out of the hustle culture.
Mm-hmm. Okay, practical ways to get out of the hustle culture. I would say, Shruti, I would first start by understanding, practical ways is it's there, but it's also, I would like you to first reflect, okay? why are you doing what you're doing? Okay, what is contributing to your hustle culture lifestyle? Okay, are these things in your control or out of your control? For example, some people, because of the pandemic and financial insecurity, they've gone into this hustle culture. They have to put in that amount of work and those hours because of financial issues, right? And unemployment issues, right? So I want you to think like, are these aspects that you are constantly going towards that hustle culture, is this in your control or is it out of your control? First step. Second step, like I said, please, I'm just saying, please understand your energy levels. Understand every single day you have this time. There's a particular time everybody has. It's maybe around about 2 hours a day, or maybe 2 to 3 hours if you can stretch it, where you will find that your energy level is at a high point, right? That's when you put in your priority of work. And that's when you understand that, okay, this is where I can put in things that are very important. All the other times, then you start to put things that are less important, right? Another very good is, Shruti, because you asked, I have to bring this into picture. Social media, right, is promoting hustle culture all the time, right? Like those quotes I mentioned in the first slide. I would say distance yourself from these things if this is promoting you to constantly keep going and not taking a break. Right? I would say, because this, when you wake up in the morning, you see a WhatsApp forward or you're scrolling on Instagram, you're seeing these quotes coming in, and this somehow has an impact. So try and mute these posts as much as possible, because they do have an impact on the way you see things. I see a question from Varun Kalra. Can you suggest practical ways to figure out if there's a regular time in a day that a person feels more energetic or is in a good flow? Okay, can you? Okay, what I would suggest, Varun, is I want you to actually think about the last. There is a way. There's no practical way. It's all about reflection, but you have to maybe, okay, you know what? Observe yourself like as an experiment for about 20 days, okay, and note it down. So you have hours. You can do it on your sheet or a computer or wherever. You have hours, and then you do like a check. Give yourself a scale, 1 to 10. Okay, 1 being like you feel like a low, 10 being like, wow, I'm so energetic right now. I feel like I'm on, whatever, Red Bull or like 10 cups of coffee without drinking 10 cups of coffee, right? I feel focused fully. 1 to 10, right? Now in an hour, when you start work, start to write down where you stand during that time. Is it a 1 or a 2 or a 5? Yeah? Rate yourself, right? I would say start by doing 1 week and then try another week. Try 20 days, best time to observe, and then figure out, okay, what's the pattern, right? Where is it that you have written 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8 or 7, 7, 7, 7? I hope that helps. Or you can obviously go to a professional to understand your flow.
That's a perfect. Yes. So Shruti is also asking about it's a follow-up from the last question. Out of the hustle culture, can we apply that to the organization?
Definitely, Shruti, why not? We can obviously apply this for an organization level also. And organization level is, I think, more to do with communication, like I said, right? So you do have these social media things that are there, and you do have like a, time that you have the flow and the energy and all of that. But you can have, like I said, again, here it comes back to effective communication with your team lead and your team members. So at an organization level, energy and, like not having posts like that say, keep going, and instead maybe alternate reminders of take a step back, take a break. You can have these reminders implemented also in the organization on an organization level, right? I think there's a set of reminders you can set up for yourself. Okay, time to take a sip of water, or is this your energy level? What's your energy level at right now? You can implement these things and have a quick check on your team members as well. Okay, where are they at? I think that's something you can try out, definitely.
Great. I think there is no more questions. I have already sent out a survey form as well. Please send out So, everyone, thank you for joining this session. It's been great. I know this is not a conventional time to join on a Tuesday, but we had a lot number of people joining in the session, and also Shivani, you've been great in such a great session on the hustle. And it's time to reflect, everyone. It's time to reflect.
Time to
And yeah, so thank you everyone for joining. Bye.
thank you.